Kyle, I've had it with all these left-handed starters. They can't hit them. It's just, I'm over it. That and more coming up on the Seven Man Postgame Show right now. Just realized I fell into an old habit by saying postgame show, but we are postgame, so I guess it
We
kind
are.
of works.
Post game, post series, it's all the same thing.
Close enough. Welcome into the Setup Man podcast. I am Alex, along with the Podfather himself, Kyle Stanley, back with me today. Today we are going to recap Cubs Astros, and really the week in general, the road trip. Then, we can't talk about anything else other than rumors because every day there seems to be a new one. So we will get into the newest batch of rumors from
Always
the weekend.
fun.
Absolutely. Trade season is here, and I am ready for it. And then finally, we talk about the upcoming series. The Cubs are welcoming the Guardians to Wrigley Field. We will talk about that in a little bit. But first, before we get into all of that, make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button for us. I know, Kyle, little tease. You had something in the works coming this week in terms of breakdown, so hit that little bell. So when that is posted and published, you are the first to see it. Audio only people, make sure to check out the YouTube page because you get cool stuff like that. But make sure if you are listening audio only, hit that subscribe button and leave us a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. All right, Kyle. Cubs finished the road trip with a 3-4 record after splitting in St. Louis and losing 2 out of 3 in Houston. So my first question to you, are you disappointed by this road trip?
Not necessarily. It's tough to win 3 out of 4, whether you're home or away. Those 4-game series, man. I mean, sweeping a 4-game series is like Christmas coming early. Winning a 3 out of 4, I think the Cubs did it against the Pirates to start the last homestand, but even that was like a grind.
Yeah.
So like winning 3 out of 4, especially a team that's chasing you, motivated to catch you. I was happy that we ended up splitting with the Cardinals after the first 2 games, just atrocious. Then you come into the Astros. If they don't have the best record at home, it's one of the best records at home. And then you got to face 2 lefties, which we, as you alluded to, we're not good against lefties. And one of those lefties is one of the best lefties in the game in Framber Valdez. And he did exactly what you would expect of him today. He's missed a lot of bats, and he kept the Cubs scoreless for 6 innings. And then when you put him on the ropes, the Astros have one of the best bullpens, and they bring in Abreu, and Abreu not only gets out of first and second with nobody out, but he then mows him down the next inning too. And you're just like, yeah, this is a good Astros team. Somehow it's right. It's the Brewers, it's the Rays, it's the Astros, like all these teams that you just expect to not have good seasons, and they're having great seasons. So am I disappointed, to answer your question? I'm not. I'm actually thrilled because I thought the Brewers would win 5 of 6 this week, and they only won 4 of 6 this week. So the Cubs, luckily, only lost a little bit of ground. Could have been a lot worse. We could be going back to Wrigley 1 game up. We could be going back to Wrigley tied after being up 6.5 games less than 10 days ago. I mean, really rough. But this is where you start to look back at like, hey, they took care of business in April. They took care of business in that week's schedule. Now you hit this rough patch. It doesn't hurt as much. Would you have liked to see some of those games go your way? Yeah, of course. But you're not going to have every game go your way. You can't play the what if game on every single game. So I'm happy with where they're at. And now we get to go in where we'll preview the series, but the Brewers, they've got the Mets coming up, right? So time to make up some ground. I know the Mets haven't been playing great, but I have a good feeling with the Mets being home that the Cubs will be making up some ground this week.
Well, and I looked into it, and I know we'll talk about it in a little bit, but all right-handed pitchers from Cleveland this week, which makes me feel a little better.
Happy about that.
Yeah, and no, we won't get to that yet. But yeah, my only concern is the left-handed hitting left-handed pitchers.
Yeah.
Because today, Valdez, 6 shutout, only gave up 5 hits. We didn't get a single hit off their bullpen. Brandon Walter on Friday, 6 innings, 5 hits, only 1 earned run. It's so bizarre because if you look at their OPS numbers, they're all really good against left-handed pitching. But for whatever reason, they just can't string anything together. So I don't really know what the solution to that is, because even if you bring someone from outside the organization, is one, let's call it middle of the road bat, really going to make that much of a difference? when
Yeah,
left.
I mean, well, that depends. I mean, there's a lot of rumors about. I know we're going to talk about Jonathan India. That's not a needle mover. I
Right.
don't care what you say. It's not a needle mover. Eugenio Suarez is a needle mover. I don't know what his numbers look like against lefties, but one of the top home run hitters in the league. So is that a guy? I guess my question for you is, Alex, we keep talking about need starters. 100% a starter is what the Cubs need the most. Is the next need another legit back of the end bullpen arm? Or is it hey, we need a guy that's going to be an impact bat from the right-hand side, good against lefties, probably ideally at third base while Matt Shaw still figures out his whole situation?
I honestly, yes. The bullpen has been solid. Yes. I mean, Palencia has been awesome. Do I trust him in a game 7 in October? Not really.
Okay.
But all things considered, today was the shining example of they need another. It doesn't even have to be a great bat, just a bench bat, because Michael Bush pinch hits at one point. It's like, okay, yeah, I get that. Then the next pinch hitter and best option was Vidal Brujan. And I'm
It's
sorry.
not, yeah, that's ugly. That's ugly.
It's just like, and I was listening to David Kaplan's recap on his YouTube channel, and he's like, that's the guy you pick up in September that's a pinch runner for you in October. It's like, yeah. And yet we have to use him
I know.
in a situation because you don't trust Matt Shaw, who hadn't, I don't believe at that point, it had in that bat. I don't think he played at all today. Birdie was already in. Justin Turner was already. It really was disheartening when it's like, and here comes Vidal Brujan to the plate. It's like, oh, really?
It was an interesting point that JD made too. Did you hear what he said at that point when
Actually,
Bruhan pinch hit?
I was actually driving home in the middle of a storm during this point, so everything
Got
kind
it.
of went dark for me. Yeah.
So it was first and second with nobody out, and they bring in Abreu, and then Bush pinch hits, and then Bruhan. And JD was like, I'm not trying to say Craig made the wrong move, but wouldn't you think Bruhan before Bush was essentially what he was saying? So that like Bruhan being a speedy guy, you either try to lay down a bunt base hit. At worst, you get second and third with one out. Or even if he hits a ground ball or something, you're going to have first and third with one out because he's not going to get thrown out for a double play. But you got Michael Bush. Now, I agreed with him. I was kind of like, and again, like I don't want to like play Monday morning quarterback too much. I know we're going to probably talk about Jameson Taillon maybe being in there a little bit too long. We're going to talk about that, terrible right-handed heavy lineup that the Cubs have to put out there when there's a lefty and they still don't know how to hit. And for some reason, Matt Shaw is getting a day off. I don't want to nitpick too much because I just didn't expect them to win this game. When you look at Framber Valdez versus Jameson Taillon, I'm just happy that JMO actually looked halfway decent and good freaking job getting out of that first inning. But I'm getting off subject. My point is, it just, I think Sam Olber says it really, really well. It's not that we need to break down every single move that Craig Counsell makes. It's just that he shouldn't be making life harder for the Cubs. And sometimes he makes these decisions where you're like, you're just making life a little bit harder. Like, don't do that. Just make the sensible decision and let the guys go do their job. So that's it.
Yeah, and well, let's speaking of Counsell, let's talk about the Jameson Taillon decision.
Yeah.
So
Do
if you
it.
missed it, he was kind of cruising, really inefficient today, but that was thanks to Isaac Paredes, former Cub, who just unbelievable. He saw 31 pitches himself today in
Did
3 at
he
bats.
just not try with us? Like, I just don't think he tried with us.
There's a chance, man, or he's just a Cubs killer because he looked awesome this weekend. And
I think he's like bitter that the Cubs drafted him but didn't bring him up. So he's like, haha, you traded for me and now I'm going to stick it to you. You think we're going to the playoffs? No way. Just kidding.
yeah,
I don't think he really did that.
well, I have another former Cub that I want to bring up later, but we'll
Okay.
get to that. We'll get to that in a minute. But so if you missed it, there was a runner on first, 2 out. Taillon really just needs to get Altuve to get out of the inning, and then he goes 5 complete, which is what you could clearly see they were trying to get him through 5 to get to the 6 to set up the bullpen. Well, he wasn't super sharp. This is his 3rd time seeing Altuve. Hangs a slider into the Crawford boxes, those godforsaken Crawford boxes. I mean, it just and then of course everyone after for well, why would you leave him in? I kind of defend it. At this point, he was pitching okay enough. It wasn't super crisp,
Yeah.
but I believe, and I don't know for sure, I believe he had Altuve at 2 strikes or right around there.
I think it was a 2-strike pitch.
Yeah, and he just hung a slider. He basically has done that his last 3 starts. And even today, he only gave up 2 earned. I don't feel great about Taillon still after this. What say you? Because I didn't leave this going, oh, he's back. We're rolling.
No, I didn't either. It was something like the first 14 pitches, 11 of them were foul balls, and that just shows you that like you're not fooling anyone.
Yeah.
There were there's just starts when you look up and you say, okay, 4 2/3 no earned runs. This guy's cruising, and this wasn't one of them.
Yeah.
He was there was a little bit of luck. There was a little bit of Javier Assad getting in and out of doing his magic, kind of thing. But at no point was I will like, oh wow, he's really cruising. Which is also why I was just kind of like, okay, I get it that Jose, and I don't even think it was Jose Altuve. I think it was honestly as soon as there was the leadoff single in the 5th inning, and then you have Paredes who had just been torturing Taillon.
Yeah.
Not even necessarily because he was hitting the ball hard, but just because he was having these long at bats. I just kind of figured like, okay, that first guy gets on, bring in the very rested bullpen, a la Chris Flexen. Thank you very much. Thought plus the off day on Monday, I really thought that it would just that okay, that's the trigger. We're over 90 pitches. Let's go ahead and bring in the bullpen. Let's keep this thing where it's at. And so, Paredes, he ends up getting the next 2 guys out, and then he hangs the slider to Altuve. I just thought there was a high risk on all 3 of those batters. I didn't think it was a Altuve thing because he had actually struck out Altuve the previous 2 at bats. I just think all 3, especially with Taillon, who is susceptible to the home run ball this year, has been hanging a lot of pitches. The more tired you get, I was about to say tireder, but that's not a thing. The more tired you get, the more likely you're going to hang pitches, and he hung one. So, again, I don't even think that I am like, even when it happened, Alex, I wasn't like, God, Craig. I was just kind of like, well, to say that I think the Cubs are going to at least score 1 run this game is actually very much a stretch right now. So it just didn't bother me a whole lot. I just didn't think that it was completely necessary because of the rest of the bullpen.
Agreed. And fun fact, even after today's game, the Cubs bullpen did not give up a run since last Sunday. So all week they were damn near perfect.
Wait, you say they didn't give up a single run?
Yes, and I actually heard that on Marquee. So unless Cole Wright was lying to me.
Cole Wright's lying if that's what he said. Porter Hodge gave up a solo home run yesterday.
Oh, you know what? You're right.
Yeah, but it would have been a pop-up to left field in any other ballpark. Which, by the way, wasn't that a double? It hit off the yellow line and then bounced foul. It should have been a double, I'm pretty sure. I wasn't listening to the broadcast, but they kept showing the replay, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure Fox is insinuating that this was a double. But anyway, yeah, that's your only quote unquote run from the Cubs bullpen this entire road trip.
And it may not have been Cole Wright. So if I'm slandering him, I apologize. Someone told me that they hadn't give up a run all week. Maybe it was David Kaplan on his recap. But anyway, long story short, the bullpen's been really good. So if you pull Taillon there, you're still giving your team a chance. The only problem is, like you said, you're basically asking your pitching to be absolutely perfect to at least give you some sort of shot. Because today the offense did not have it. Only 5 hits. None of them were impactful. It's just Kelly had a double.
John Birdie got a hit. And Justin Turner. 2 of the 5 hits, John Birdie and Justin Turner. Woohoo!
Both guys who you could tell me could not be on the team in the month, and I don't think I'd be crying about it, but that's another story. Yeah, I don't really know what to take away from this series. They faced 2 lefties, still couldn't hit them. They end the month of June with a 13-13 record, and as I bring up their schedule here on the side, Washington, Detroit, Philly, Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, St. Louis, Seattle, Houston. Okay, that's a
June.
That's a gauntlet, especially dog days of summer now that we're in. They haven't had a lot of days off. 13-13, a little disappointing when you just 500 whatever. But looking at their opponents, it's like okay. And July opens up a little bit. Boston's been struggling. They get the White Sox at the end of the month. They have a couple in Minnesota. Minnesota's been kind of a roller coaster. So Cleveland has kind of been up and down. So it lightens up a little bit, and they get the All-Star break, which kind of feels like they really just need an off day or a set of off
Yeah.
days. So, no, any other major takeaways you have from this series?
I mean, we have to talk about Kyle Tucker and Isak Paredes and Cam Smith. We can't not talk about them. And I'll use this to tease to my breakdown tomorrow of really who won the trade. So I'm not going to give you that answer now. You got to go watch the breakdown tomorrow. But what were your thoughts? I mean, that one game, you got 3 home runs from all those guys, Cam, Isak Paredes, and Kyle Tucker. Ironically, that's the game that the Cubs win. You've got Cam Smith just sticking it to the Cubs game 1 with that 3-run home run, and you would not see a happier human being at that moment in time in this entire planet. I mean, he was just so thrilled that he just punched his other team in the face. And then, none of them really did anything today. Kyle Tucker had a double. Isak Paredes tormented Taillon with the foul balls, and Cam Smith didn't do much. So what did you think about the 3?
I went back and forth, and I actually forgot to put this in our outline for the show today, but I listened to David Kaplan last night. He didn't really recap the game. He just kind of quick through, but he did a whole thing. If you haven't, not that we're plugging other podcasts, but recap, he had some Kyle Tucker nuggets that I'll share now because I think this is a larger conversation. But basically, he said everything he's heard, that when the Cubs took on Kyle Tucker, the reason they were a little more willing to give up a bigger prospect like Cam Smith, or Matt Shaw's name was floated out there, is because when they traded for him, they understood this is the cost of doing business. So they understand what they are up against. And I'm paraphrasing here. If you want to see his actual quotes, go watch the video.
Sure.
But basically, they know when they got into the Kyle Tucker business, they understood what they were getting into. They've wrapped their minds about, okay, it's going to cost X, Y, Z, and they're going to be in it. This isn't a thing for show. It sounds like he loves the city of Chicago. They still want to experience a full summer, but Cap said it, and it's actually the title of his video is Kyle Tucker Loves Chicago. So with that said, it sucked watching Cam Smith be awesome this weekend while Matt Shaw continues to struggle. But at the time, let's be honest here, that trade was going to hurt. Even though it's a quote-unquote rental, that trade was going to have to hurt. They weren't going to take 20 cents on the dollar for that trade. And at the time, Cam Smith was kind of a rising star, but we were all hell-bent on Matt Shaw is a star. And he might still be. It's early. But when you see Cam Smith hitting shots onto the train tracks, and our guys was benched for 2 of the games, it's like, that kind of hurts. So, if we sign Tucker, all is forgiven. Cam Smith, I hope you have a Hall of Fame career. Thank you for everything you did for the Cubs organization, even though it was like 3 months worth. Paredes, whatever. It wasn't going to work here anyway, and Wisniewski just had Tommy John. If you sign him, whatever. That was the cost of doing business.
I agree. I'm going to go a step further and say I wanted Cam Smith to hit another home run today.
Just to rub the salt in the wound, or what?
No, I want Tom Ricketts to feel the pressure from Cubs fans, and we know that Tom is paying attention to social media because he literally went up to Brian, our guy, our setup man crew, and he literally reused the term, "We're just trying to break even." He said that to Brian at a Cubs game, and then Brian said, "Well, how can I help you not be breaking even? Should I just buy more swag? What can I get people to do?" And his response was, "Stick up for us on social media." So Tom's listening to not this show, but he's watching stuff on social media. He's getting stuff sent to him. So I just want Cubs fans to do what we did, and that is say everything that Cubs fans said on social media when Cam Smith was up 2-0 basically before Kyle Tucker hit his 3-run shot. And that was that, hey, Cubs lost this Kyle Tucker trade unless they sign him to a full long-term extension. We need Cam Smith to keep on putting the pressure on Cubs fans so that they get irked, so that Tom will make a move, so that Kyle Tucker gets re-signed, and then we say, Cam who? Right? Because that's really what has to happen. We just have to get to a point of saying, yeah, I mean, good for that Cam Smith guy, but we got 8 years of Kyle Tucker. We would do it again. Right? That's where it needs to be.
Well, and look, I mean, yes, this is, and Jed's even said this is a guy you want in your building. But how since the core four, Baez, Bryant, Rizzo, and whoever the four at the time it was Soler, but then it was like Schwarber for a minute.
Right.
But regardless, that core group of guys, have the Cubs have anybody that you could say, oh, if he's around for a while, he might be a Cubs Hall of Famer? I don't think that's not nothing. Just that he could potentially, if he finishes career here, if he gets to the Hall of Fame, I would imagine he goes in as a Cub. I
Yep.
would imagine the Cubs put him in the Cubs Hall of Fame. What's the requirements? Like 5 years after they're done or whatever, and you have to play certain. But he would be a Cubs Hall of Famer on this trajectory. Obviously, things happen, whatever. But when's the last time they've had a guy like that? I know Pete Crow Armstrong has kind of taken over baseball in the city, and even though he struggled this week, I mean, every time he was up, everyone seemed to be locked in. Like, oh,
Yeah.
come on, Pete. I know I was. But I don't think it would seem like a missed opportunity, not only because you have that player. I just think from a PR perspective, this could be the next, fill in the gap. Whoever, Dawson, Williams, any one of those guys, this could be your next guy because there's not really anyone in the pipeline that you're like, oh, that's the guy.
Yep.
This could be the guy.
What do you usually say? Nothing more, Your Honor.
No more questions, Your Honor.
Yeah,
All right.
yeah. I mean, that I have nothing more to add. It's all right. We're not going to know until an extension is actually done. But right
Yeah.
now, that you and I stand in the same spot.
Yeah.
There has to be an extension. And I know we kind of did this whole thing for a while of like, oh, well, PCA is playing so well. Let's extend him instead of Tucker. No, like, let's just like the focus needs to be on extending Tucker. You have team control of PCA for another 5 years.
Yeah.
Just focus on extending Tucker, and we can get to that bridge when we get to it with PCA because the time is already up for getting a team discount for PCA. Who, by the way, was 0 for 11 on this, not just road trip, on this trip to, what is it, Daikin? I can't even remember the name of the
Dalkin or Daikin. Yeah.
Daikin, whatever. He was 5 for 27 on the road trip. So you want to know why we didn't do so well? Well, there you go. PCA is a superstar. He didn't play like a superstar this trip, but it's got to be on Tucker. So I don't know. I don't think we have to talk about it anymore. They got to extend him.
Yeah. Amen. All right, so let's move on to our standings update here. So the Cubs catch a massive break today. The Rockies beat Milwaukee in extra innings in Milwaukee. Thank you, Rockies, who actually have been playing a lot better lately. Baseball's
Really well.
been weird. The Marlins are on like a 7-game, West Coast trip. They went like 6 or 7-0, like crazy stuff. So anyway, back to our team. Cubs still in first place, 2-game lead now. So that has shrunk since I think after the Milwaukee series, they were up like 6.5 or something.
Tuesday or Wednesday last week, they were 6.5.
Yeah, well, it's down to 2. So they are up on Milwaukee 2 games. St. Louis is only 2.5 back now. Cincinnati is 5 back. They are playing a lot better. And Pittsburgh has won 3 in a row. 14.5 back. They're not coming back. But I want to point it out because they were like 20 back a week ago. They're playing better.
There you go. And they're playing the Cardinals next. So go ahead and keep on playing better.
That sounds fantastic. So we do have some rumors to get to, but I forgot to put this on the sheet as well. I have a question for you, Kyle. The Reds just cut an old friend of ours, Jeimer Candelario. He is now a free agent. He was placed on waivers, no trade. He's now a free agent. Would you consider bringing back the Candyman to upgrade our bench spot? Because I know it didn't go great the last time he played, but man, he's got to be better than Birdie or Bruhan. Even Turner.
So looking at it right now, he had 80 at bats this year and batted 113. That is not a small sample size, even though some say that is a small sample size. Wink, wink.
If you know, you know.
Exactly. I mean, a 410 OPS. Listen, they let him go, which probably means that whatever team picks him up is going to pick him up for league minimum. I don't know what the rule ends up being on that. If it means a bench spot, it's better than at least one of our bench guys right now.
It's got to be better than Bruhan. I really don't understand. It's office space.
Well,
like, what do you say
the only argument you have for Bruhan is if one of our outfielders goes down, what are you doing? And that, I mean, I know that one of our outfielders is usually the DH, so the answer is typically that. But if one goes down, you need to have a fourth outfielder, and so typically, like Brujan, that's to me, that's the only value. His speed, plus he plays just about anywhere on the infield. He's played second, he's played third, he's played short this year, and he's played some outfield. So that's really the only value I see. I just want him to stop getting meaningful at bats like he did today. But then again, like if Jamer Candelario is getting a meaningful at bat, am I excited about that with those numbers? And by the way, last year he wasn't very good either. He was according to Baseball Reference, a negative 0.7 WAR player with a 225 batting average.
Oof.
Still hit 20 home runs, but only had a 707 OPS last year. So I mean, at that point, I'm kind of like, no, just keep throwing Matt Shaw out there. Like I don't want to play that game. We got this, and this is where I'm at, Alex. Any trade right now in a place where there's a hole, it has to be significant. It's 2025. The Cubs are going for it right now. It has to be significant. Mitch Keller, that's nice. It's nice. The way that Alex would say it. Go ahead, do your Trump impression. Nice.
It's very nice. It's very nice.
So
fantastic.
It would be nice, but like I don't want nice this year. I want significant. I want impact. And so if you're gonna tell Matt Shaw, sorry, you got to see the pine for a little bit, well, then go get Eugenio Suarez. Get a third baseman that actually will do something. Get a starter that will actually make an impact. Get a bullpen guy that will actually make an impact. The only like blah type of move I want to see, maybe a bullpen guy, maybe a slight upgrade for someone in the bullpen. But the bench needs significant upgrade. The starting pitching needs significant upgrades.
Yeah. Well, and so while you were talking, I looked up Suarez's number. So against righties, he's actually been really good. His batting 276, OBP of 340, slugging 587. But the problem with him is his numbers against lefties are god awful. He's only batting $179 against lefties. On base is 269, slug only 493.
Don't like that.
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised when I looked it up. I didn't realize he was that bad against lefties. You would think a big right-handed masher like that would take care of lefties, but he's been pretty terrible against lefties.
Here's the thing, though. When you look at the overall numbers, you slot him into this Cubs team, he becomes the leader in home runs. He will be second in OPS at 888, only to Kyle Tucker. Batting average is decent at 253. And he would be tied for first or right behind Seiya at 67 RBIs. I can't remember if Seiya has 67 or 69. So, I mean, yeah, he sucks against lefties, at least this year, but like, I don't know. I would much rather have him than I would have I know we were talking a while back about, okay, the Cardinals aren't in it, a declining Nolan Arenado. I don't know. We watched Arenado this last series. He does, aside from his defense, which by the way, Shaw's played a phenomenal defense over at third base. Aside from his defense, he isn't an impact bat anymore. So I just don't want to play this like, okay, are we upgrading over at third base? Are we upgrading on the bench? Get the impact guys. Let's make actual upgrades.
Well, and I think if they do, I think their biggest impact is going to be in the starting rotation. So that is a nice transition into our rumor du jour of today. Anyway, there seems to be one a day. But over the weekend, there were rumors about the Cubs and the Royals potentially getting together on a trade. Looks like they were talking to the Royals about starting pitcher Seth Lugo, infielder Jonathan India, and reliever/closer Carlos Estevez. Just quick side note, the Estevez thing, when they trade for guys like this, it really bothers me because you could have had him in your building already. Like, he was out there until March. Like, just sign the guy then, because now you need him. But whatever, that's neither.
And he's been phenomenal this year.
Right. So it just, that stuff bothers me. But let's start with Seth Lugo, because that is the biggest name on this list. Seth Lugo, 35 years old, contract situation. He has a player option for 2026. Who knows if the baseball will even be played in 2026? But
it would be 27 if they don't play.
Oh, you're right. I have my
after the 26 season.
Yes, you're correct. Seth Lugo has had a phenomenal couple years. He was a 2024 All-Star, finished second in the AL Cy Young voting last year, only behind the best pitcher on the planet, Tarek Skubal. And, fun fact, he finished 15th in MVP voting last year. This season, he's 5-5 with a 2.74 ERA and 88 and 2/3 innings pitched. His numbers in KC have been outstanding. And this is in Kauffman Stadium in Kansas City. 3-3 with a 2.42 ERA and 52 innings pitched. The only reason I'm mentioning this is because away from Kansas City, still very good. Just a little more vulnerable. 2-2 with a 3.19 ERA.
I'll take
36 and 2. Oh, absolutely. 36 and 2/3 innings pitched. Now, I do think the cost for Lugo is going to be higher than people will probably be comfortable with because it's not the name of Sandy Alcantara. Seth Lugo is one of those guys, like real baseball fans know how good this guy is. But for the casual Cubs fan that's just kind of follows here and there, they're going to be like, Seth Lugo? In fact, my father, God bless him, who the hell is Seth Lugo? And my mom actually thought his name was funny. Like that, the casual fans are going to be like, I don't know. But Kyle, this guy is an absolute stud.
Yeah, I mean, that's impact. That's massive impact. That's aside from Shota and the way that Matthew Boyd has thrown this year. I mean, if Shota keeps on doing what he's done all season long so far when he's been healthy, and Matt Boyd keeps on doing what he's doing, and you get a guy like this, do you consider any of them true aces? Maybe, but what you definitely do is you get rid of a really bad 3-4-5 situation with at least one notch up, right? You got Ray, you got Horton, and you've got Taillon right now. Horton is probably the only guy that goes out there that you're like, I could see him throwing a pretty decent 5 or 6 innings today. Ray, it was pretty much magical that he didn't get shellacked against the Astros. And then Taillon, like you said, he didn't exactly have a bounce back. He just kind of scaved by today. You put Seth Lugo, replace him with Ray, because that's really who you would do it with. You would do it with Ray or maybe Horton just to save innings. Oh my gosh, what that does to the rotation. Then you go get a Mitch Keller, and now you say, okay, you got your like front of the rotation guy, because really Seth Lugo, he might fit in at 2 or 3 with the Cubs, but he could throw up an ace type of situation, an ace type of outing at any given point. And then you go get a Mitch Keller, and then you say, okay, wow, now we just replace, call it, I would say Cade Horton and Colin Ray with Seth Lugo and Mitch Keller. How much better are you feeling now? You put both those guys in the bullpen, and then Jameson Taillon suddenly is your number 5 starter. Whereas at one point this year, everyone was like, wow, who's the best pitcher for the Cubs? Is it Taillon or is it Boyd? So that's a nice luxury. That to me would be huge. So it starts with Seth Lugo though, and I would love that. What about you? You like it?
I first heard that name, I'm like, oh, really? And then once you dive into the numbers, his baseball reference page is pretty. It's real. This is a guy, theoretically, not that he would, because Shota, I would imagine, would get game 1 of a playoff series. But heaven forbid something happened. This dude, you could start game 1 of a playoff series and feel pretty darn good about your chances. And let's say the first, so what is it? The new formatting always confuses me. So the wild card, it's a 3-gamer. Well, then you wouldn't even have to worry about Taillon. If you were in a wild card round, it would be, let's call it Lugo, Taillon, and Boyd. Holy smokes, you feel a lot better about your chances versus what you would throw out now, which would be Shota, Boyd, probably Taillon in a game 3, and with your life on the line in a potential game 3 in a wild card round. Yikes. I don't love that. So and then as you mentioned, if you have any bullets left, because I do think that's going to cost you a pretty penny, even though he's 35, it's not a long contract. I do think that costs kind of more than you'd think. And if they add one of these other pieces that we're going to talk about, it's probably going to be more. But if you were to be able to add a Mitch Keller or a middle of the road kind of guy after that, all right, now we're rolling. Now we're talking. So I'm 100% with you. This would be a phenomenal impact get. And let's face it, I've been Team Sandy Alcantara since the start, but I watched that game yesterday, and holy smokes, did he look horrible in Arizona.
It's not good.
You think Taillon is a roller coaster, man. I mean, this guy, He'll throw out a start where you're like, holy cow, this is the Cy Young guy. And then he'll have a start like he did yesterday. And it's like, oh my God, who is this? I
Yeah.
don't recognize this human being. So no, I am all for it. And then these additional pieces, let's talk about the second.
Well, really quick, because you
Yeah.
said I just want to give some clarity to some people that are like, okay, you guys are talking a lot about Seth Lugo, but what does that baseball reference page look like? Just to give you clarity, he has not had an ERA over 360, and I'm throwing out 2020 because no one counts 2020, since 2017. Has not had an ERA over 360. In that time, he had 1 year 266, 1 year 270, last year an even 3 ERA. Now, the reason you don't hear a lot about him is because last year is the only time in his career that he's pitched over 150 innings, and he went 206 innings. The most in his career before that was in 2023 with the Padres at 146 and a third. That's probably why you just haven't heard a lot about this guy, because he's never been in the Cy Young Award mix. He's never been an all-star up until this last year. So that's he's just been very much like under the radar, and then has this phenomenal year last year. And now he's, he's backing it up again with another great year this year. But anyway, you want to talk about Jonathan India?
Yeah, so a couple of the other names, we'll talk about Jonathan India first. So this is a 28-year-old utility man under control through 2027. For the year, 246, 4 home runs, 23 RBIs, a 321 on base percentage, and a 343 slugging percentage. The key thing here is that he hits lefties relatively well. A 294 batting average, a 373 on base percentage, slugging 412, and an OPS of 785. And he does give you flexibility that, say, a Brujan would. Plays second, plays third, probably in a pinch could play short. But just this year alone, he's played second, third, and even left field some. So a utility guy that can potentially hit lefties. This is nothing more than a bench upgrade to me. But still, it's better than what your bench looks like now, because their bench right now looks horrendous. So I'm not anti, but this move doesn't fire me up by any means.
I'm anti. I'm anti.
Full on anti. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he's a negative WAR player this year. He's got 664 OPS overall. For comparison, let's just go ahead and look it up. So he's negative, and I'm on Baseball Reference right now, which isn't the most accurate for WAR. But Matt Shaw is a 1 WAR player, and India is a negative 0.3. If he's on the bench, is he better than Brujan? Kinda, because
I would say, oh my God, yes.
Yeah, but he doesn't have a single stolen base this year, so you don't have the speed factor.
That's fair.
He plays second, and maybe he could play third base, but and maybe a little bit of outfield as well. So I mean, I guess you got a little bit. This is the game I just don't want to play. I don't want to start comparing to like Jonathan Brujan and John Birdie, Vidal Brujan. I just combined the names. I don't want to combine. I don't want to compare to Vidal Brujan and Jonathan Birdie. I want to say, is this an upgrade? Clearly an upgrade. I don't want to have those questions. And to me, Jonathan India makes you ask those questions.
Well, the only reason I would say it is a clear upgrade, obviously negative WAR player, but just somebody that can hit a damn left-handed pitcher. I know it's not sexy. This is a guy I would maybe want to see once a week. Maybe. If he's he's in Kansas City starting lineup, and their offense is just horrendous. It's not somebody that's going to be like, oh, we got Jonathan India, let's go. It's fine. I do think he's overall an upgrade, but I mean, that's not saying much. That bar is so low. I mean, it's whatever. That's exactly what this move is. It would be a whatever thing. And if you have to combine it with Lugo, let's say it's Lugo and India. What's that package going to look like? Is it going to be an extra asset that maybe you could use in a different trade? If that's the case, I'm out. But
I think if you're going to throw in a negative WAR player, it's as the Royals, you're just saying, please take him. Like it's more of, hey, this is our ugly red-headed stepchild. We just don't want him anymore. Will you take him? Okay, yeah, I guess we'll get him off your hands. So that's kind of how I would view that. If it means that they're trying to get assets in return, I don't think they have a leg to stand on for calling Jonathan India a asset worthy trade.
Yeah. Well, and okay, so you can't make this stuff up. As we're recording, the Wrigley Wire on X. I don't know if you follow this account, but it's really a fun account. If you're a Cub fan, I'll give them a shout out at the Wrigley Wire. Tremendous follow. I kid you not, they just tweeted out the 3 bench guy stats between Birdie, Bruhan, and Turner. And let me just tell you, I'm just going to give you their WRC plus. John Birdie, WRC plus 40. Vidal Bruhan, WRC plus 13. Justin Turner, WRC plus 61. I mean, that's not a murderer's row by any means.
And just in case anyone's watching doesn't know what that means, the league average is 100. So this is basically how productive are you as a hitter. They are all extremely well below league average, which I don't think that we had to give anyone a stat to know the answer to that.
That's true. I mean, he's got their slash lines, everything. Turner and Birdie have the highest bench batting average, just batting average at 202. They're tied for 202. Bruhan's batting a $161, a number that will not get you a McChicken. I mean, it's just woof. So, look, we're talking about Jonathan India. We're not talking about Shohei Ohtani, but anything's an upgrade over that, in my opinion. And I don't want to just get
I think you and I could be an upgrade over that. Let's go get a bat.
Truthfully, give me like a month, maybe. But yeah, all right. So let's talk about the last guy that was rumored. This would actually be an impact arm, and that would be closer Carlos Estevez, 32 years old. He is under contract. He's an unrestricted free agent in 2028, but he does have a club option after the 27 season. His AAV is currently at 11.1 million, which is just under what Ryan Presley is making. Just wanted to note that. And on the 32-year-old closer has been really, really good this year. 2-2 with a 2.08 ERA. He's got 22 saves already in 34 2/3 innings pitched, and his K rate is 21.1%. And he would be an experienced closer. Their bullpen's been so good, but this just knocks everyone down a peg. So now Palencia, instead of throwing the 9th in a Game 7 scenario, you got potentially Carlos Estevez and an experienced closer in that spot who's been really good for a couple years. Kyle, I like the idea of that.
I like it too. I also think it becomes even more valuable given what the organization may or may not be thinking about Porter Hodge at this moment. I think right now Porter Hodge is kind of it sucks to say this. I think he's kind of an afterthought of impact this year. I don't think that they see Porter Hodge as getting back into high leverage situations this year. I think they see him because of how well Palencia's been doing, because of how well Brazier and Thielbar and Pomeranz. I mean, the list goes on. It's a high climb for Porter Hodge to get back into that kind of position. So for that reason, you have a guy like Estevez, put him in the 8th or the 9th inning, bump everyone down. This bullpen's already been really good, which is really fun to see. You just have to look at this road trip to know how good they were, allowing only 1 run, and that was on a cheap home run in the Crawford boxes. And it's strengthened in a strength, which I really, really love. I don't really have anything else to say except for this would be a great move. I completely agree with what you said earlier, that this was an arm that I thought they should have gotten over the offseason. They chose to go the Ryan Presley route instead, which was interesting. But let's get him. Let's go. Let's just go get all 3. We'll take over your Jonathan India for you, Kansas City Royals. You're welcome. We'll probably end up DFAing him a couple weeks later, but we'll take over all 3. What do you got? What do you need? Owen Casey? Yeah. Go ahead. You want Kevin Alcantara or Owen Casey? I don't know about both. Take one. You want James Triantos? Go ahead. You want Jackson Wiggins? No way. You want Cade Horton? No way. You want Moises Ballesteros? Probably not. None of these names get me excited about a Moises Ballesteros leaving this organization. But you want any of those other top prospects? You want Jonathan Long? Yeah. Which, by the way, like if we're struggling to hit left-handed pitching, I don't know what Jonathan Long is hitting against left-handed pitching, but we just keep hearing about him lighting up AAA. I just don't understand why we don't at least give that guy a shot. But you want Jonathan Long? Just go for it. We'll take all 3 of them.
Yeah, and honestly, if even if it's just Lugo and Estevez, I would probably give up both of those outfielders and Jonathan Long, and I don't think I'd think twice about it. There's just nowhere for those guys to go, especially if you re-sign Tucker. Again, all of this is with the caveat that you are planning on having your current right fielder for the next decade. But
Yeah.
again, who knows what's going to happen with that. And I know we're up against the clock here, and I know we got to get to our preview, but just very quickly, you had mentioned something that's kind of an interesting idea. Porter Hodge, is this just kind of unfortunately a lost season for him? I think this injury, even his velocity and stuff looked a little down yesterday. And I don't know if that's just the heat or just trying to work his way back into shape. Is this just kind of a lost year for Porter Hodge?
It's just I don't know if you have to even say lost, because we're not even, I mean, we are halfway through the season and there's so much more that could happen. Some guys could get injured. Porter Hodge could suddenly be in 2 weeks at 98, 99. That slider's back. This year, the swing and miss hasn't been there as much. The consistency hasn't been there as much. The oblique injury happens and you don't know how he's going to recover from that. He's not looked incredibly sharp in his couple outings since coming back. He's been decent. But after giving up 6 earned runs in a third of an inning at AAA, that doesn't give you a whole lot of confidence as well. I would not go as far to say that it's a lost season, because a lot could happen in the next half year. But this is relievers, man. Like this is why Jed did what he did this offseason and went and got just a crap ton of relievers and said some of them have to pan out, because some of these guys that performed last year just aren't going to perform this year. And that's why you go do this thing. That's why, I mean, good for Jed, good for the whatever, the pitching lab or whatever is going on. But the Chris Flexen, the Brad Keller, and the Caleb Thielbar situations, it's like, wow, you hit on all of those guys. That's crazy. That's crazy.
Well,
and
even Drew Pomeranz, literally had
Drew Pomeranz. Holy cow. Yeah.
Still hasn't given up a run.
Yeah.
It's been unbelievable. So, go get an unbelievable reliever to add to that mix who's already established, could be your closer. And if he's pitching for you in October, oh my God, I feel way, way better. But we are up against clock, so let's get to the series preview upcoming against the Cleveland Guardians. Cubs will welcome them into Wrigley starting Tuesday. They are off tomorrow. So Tuesday, game 1, it'll be Matthew Boyd versus Gavin Williams. Matthew Boyd has been really the ace of the Cubs all season long. He's 7-3 on the season with a 2.65 ERA. Gavin Williams 5-3 with a 3.68 ERA. And I just want to know, he's a right-handed pitcher for what that's worth. Game 2, Shota Imanaga versus Tanner Bibby. Imanaga had an awesome start in St. Louis. His first start back from the IL. On the season, he's 4-2 with a 2.54 ERA. Tanner Bibby, the numbers were kind of weird with him because I hear a lot of comparisons of Cade Horton and Tanner Bibby. Just worth noting. Tanner Bibby on the season, 4-8 with a 3.90 ERA. And then game 3, Cade Horton, speaking of, against Luis Ortiz. Horton on the season was not very good on Friday. We didn't even talk about that, but oh boy, he struggled on Friday. So looking for a bounce back there. 3-2 on the season with a 4.80 ERA. That ERA ballooned after his rough start Friday. And Ortiz on the season, kind of been a struggle. 4-9 with a 4.36 ERA. Kyle, what are your expectations going up against the Guardians this week?
The Cardinals just swept the Guardians in Cleveland. I don't see why the Cubs can't do the same at Wrigley. You look at these matchups, I would imagine Vegas has the Cubs favored on all 3, just based on the pitching matchups alone. You've got Boyd, your best pitcher. You got Shota. If Shota does the exact same thing he did last time, 5-6 innings, 0 runs, 1 run, you're winning that game. And as long as Cade Horton has a bounce back, the Cubs should hit Ortiz. I feel good about this series. I feel good about gaining some ground back this week as well, especially against the Brewers. Maybe not against the Cardinals, but definitely against the Brewers. So I like the odds. The only thing I don't like is the continued Wrigley wild card. There's the wind blowing in, is the wind blowing out. What are we going to be looking at? Man, it was actually a good point that I think JD made it the other day. Is like, maybe the Cubs do really well with the wind blowing in. And it's like, we always focus so much on the offense not doing well, but the pitching lights out when the wind's blowing in. So we'll see. But either way, excited to get back home, excited to win a series. I think they could sweep.
Yeah, it's definitely possible. Cleveland looks like they're in a bit of a downspin just looking at their ESPN results here. They got swept by Seattle in about mid-June, then kind of bounced back, and now they've lost 5 of their last 6, including a sweep, as you mentioned, to the Cardinals.
And
So,
if you look at that lineup, Alex, aside from Jose Ramirez and Steven Kwan,
yeah,
it's rough.
yeah.
No reason they should be scoring any crooked numbers this entire series.
Well, and so just quickly looking at their team leaders offensively, Jose Ramirez leads with only 13 home runs. He's batting 309, only 13 homers, and only 38 RBIs. That's kind of crazy for one of the best third basemen in the world, not even the league, the world.
Yeah.
And he's only got 38 RBIs. That tells me a lot of things, but mainly that this Guardians team just is not
No one
scoring
on
runs.
base for him.
No. And they're 40 and 42 on the season. They're 11 and a half back against Detroit. They've lost 4 in a row. They are weak. I feel good because we are throwing 2 of our best punches. But who knows with Cade, but also his matchup, Luis Ortiz, hasn't been great. So I'm with you. I don't know if they're going to get a sweep. They might drop a dumb one because that's just the way of the world. But no, 2 out of 3 is very doable. And then you got St. Louis this weekend. So yeah, get some momentum so you can take it to those GD Dirty Birds this weekend. So
How about this being a tryout for Jose Ramirez at Wrigley Field this year or this series?
don't you dare. Don't give me hope.
Guardians aren't going anywhere, man. They're not going to the playoffs. Let's go. Bring them over to a winner.
That would be amazing. And now you probably are going to get aggregated, and X is going to be all up on you for saying Jose Ramirez to the Cubs, or that's manifesting. Either way, but that's that's going to do it for us. For Kyle, I'm Alex. We look forward to talking with you. Well, actually, we haven't talked about the 4th of July plan, so we'll talk about that. Just check our social medias, and you'll get an update on our next show. But for Kyle, I'm Alex. We're going to go ice up. Thank you for watching. Make sure on your way out the door, hit that like and subscribe button on YouTube. Hit that little bell. And if you're audio only, hit that subscribe button on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. Also, do us a favor and leave a 5-star review as well. But we will talk to you later in the week. Thank you for watching. We'll see you then.